Hello and welcome to the speaker session organized by Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneur Cell of IISER Berhampur. Can an academician move from the domain of academic world and be successful in the corporate environment? Can a researcher who has no relation with the field of finance, marketing, create and run a startup? I think as a research student who also has an interest in the field of entrepreneurship, these are the questions that are bound to come to one's mind. But don't worry, IIEC has got you covered. Today we have a very special guest speaker amongst us, and I say very special because he also happens to come from the field of research and academic background, which may be the case for most of us in the future. Please welcome Dr. Swarup Chakrabarti. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. Dr. Chakraborty is a biochemist and immunologist by training from the University of Calcutta. He pursued his PhD from CSIR Indian Institute of Chemical Biology about the development of monoclonal antibiotics of human brain diagnosis, characterization and therapeutic application in 1996, probably before most of us were even born. He performed his postdoctoral research related to the field of viral genetics from the University of Illinois, Chicago in 2001. Dr. Chakrabarti has more than 12 years of experience as assistant professor in the University of Virginia and later in the Eastern Virginia Medical School. Sir then moved from the academic domain into the corporate and startup ecosystem. He had been the scientific director of Diploid Aid Biointelligence Private Limited, the co-founder and ex-CEO of STEM Bionics Private Limited, and the founder and executive director of Biotech Consulting Service. It can literally go on for hours if I try to mention all the achievements of Dr. Chakraborty. So I will restrain myself from going into the all the details of it and give the floor to Sir to share his views about the business model, canvassing and pitching. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, Deepto, for your nice and very kind introduction. So, so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some of the secret of the entrepreneurship, and later to my talk, actually, I'm going to tell you about what kind of activities the company I'm currently which the company I founded, and that I'm going to tell you a little bit, but mostly I'm going to give you a little bit details about the secrets of entrepreneurship. So before I go to the actual talk, I'd like to convey my sincerest thanks to Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Berhampur, and I know it's one of the most prestigious institutes, IISER Institute in the nation. So I am extremely delighted to get the information, to get the invitation, and I think I'm accepted it pretty much right away. So thanks again for giving me the opportunity to share my vision and activities and everything, and probably maybe you might be benefited throughout the experience I got over years, switching from academia to corporate world. And in the end, if we can convert some of the doubtful entrepreneurs who have some deep down inside, they have the interest, they have the passion for developing to be an entrepreneur, but they are kind of doubtful about whether it's a good start or not. So probably you will have an answer, and after the end of my talk, and that is my hope. And if it does, then that is the success of my talk. So without any further delay, so I'm going to move ahead, and I will walk you over with the entire talk. So the first and the foremost thing about entrepreneurship is your mindset. Okay, I'm just repeating again. Your mindset is absolutely important in choosing, in choosing whether you want to do an entrepreneurship, or you want to do a traditional job for either for a corporate or for a startup. And that is absolutely important. I think anybody of you, no matter what's your education and everything, you can do this kind of entrepreneurship, provided that you have that kind of mindset. So that's why I'm emphasizing the more of the mindset factor, and this is more often soft skills. I will tell you all of the hard skills as I go through all my presentation, but remember that your mindset is absolutely important. So So another one is that, are you a go-getter? So by definition, the go-getter is that, I'm going to give you your boss, say, for the students, your boss giving you some work or something, right? And you got the instruction, and you are trained to do all these things actually, and all you have to do, just go and get it done. So get things done, right? So that's a beautiful way of execution of the program. Okay. So this is absolutely important for the go-getting approach for entrepreneurship. But the additional responsibility is that it's nobody's going to tell you what to do, right? If you are working with somebody else, like with under a boss, or you are working for a company or something, you have some instruction, what to do, how to do it. But over here in entrepreneurship, there's nobody is going to tell you what you need to do and how you want to do it, right? So you have to be very confident that you have that kind of potential, that you can generate. That's an ideation. You can generate what I need to do and how you want to do it. So it's an additional responsibility. So definitely, the ideation from go-getter, is absolutely important. And the another is important aspect of the go-getter is that, you have to start with the solopreneurship, right? So when you start a company, right, nobody's there. So only you, the founder, is only there to take care of all the decisions. So you are not going to get any assistance from either, or you may not have the monetary, the finance to hire somebody to do work for you. So that makes this, the early stage company, the startup company, for a founder is very difficult, because not only he has to make decision, he has to go and get things done, and in the various aspect of the company, at least for a year or so, unless you are heavily funded. That I'm going to tell you later actually. But let's start with something that, because suppose you don't have any funding agency, so you have some small amount of money, and you have a great idea, you want to execute it. So you are the only one, you are the idea, you have the ideator, and you are the go-getter. So keep in mind, so if you want to start a company, startup, you have to have that kind of mentality. That's the mindset. Okay. That's a growth mindset, and get things done. See, regarding the idea, okay, there are tons of ideas in the world. Okay. And the good thing about idea is that, it's not intellectually protected, right? So you have the ideas floating around, but all you need to do for a budding entrepreneur, get that idea and try to give it a new perspective, your own new perspective, and get something unique, unique things done for the people. So again, I'm emphasizing these are the key mindset. I think this is all part of the soft skills that you need to do before you, that you need to make sure you have it before you, when you're debating between a traditional job for a company, or you just want to you want to be self-employed, or you want to earn your own money, or not only you are earning your own money, but you are generating jobs. And that is the secret. That is the beauty of this entrepreneurship also. So so now I'm talking, now the next part is more of an hard skills. So what is that and hard aspect of this entrepreneurship? So what are the key elements of entrepreneurship? Maybe all you might know a little bit, but I'm going to touch upon the first thing is the innovation, right? So the innovation could be various types. So you can develop a product, okay? So I'm giving you a little bit of example about, in the product. Suppose, I have a publishing company, right? So my product is a book, right? So I get the book done through somebody authors and everything, but my job is to just sell it, right, and bring revenues to my production company or book publishing company. So this is one aspect. So and for the biotech company or something, biotech entrepreneurship, the product is pretty much simple. It could be either a final product, I mean end product, or it could be a therapeutics, it could be a diagnostics, or it could be some some product, and that can actually lead to another product also. So so these are the types of innovations, most of the entrepreneurships they have to deal with. So one is the product, that is a very key aspect of this entrepreneurship, and another is the technology. Okay, so technology is very, very important. See, when you develop a product, right, you need to get help of the technology, right? And most of the technologies are available, right? They have the standard SOPs, and they have been the lot of people in the world, they have been using the technology to develop a product. But you are developing a new product, and that's a new thing, but you are taking help of technology. Now you might be asking that how the technology could be considered as innovation. See, there are technologies out there, but there could be, you can be remodifying the technology for or user friendly or something. You can upgrade the technology. And another aspect is that, you can show a you know a what is that is the different application of a particular technology. So I'm telling you a case story, the case study. Okay, so the case study is, what is the case study? Case study means it's a real life story. So basically, you are giving me some examples, and especially the case study is important for the investors. So basically, you have to convince them that, or you have to tell a story, real life story, that this is the story, what is the what I have done, and I need the money to get more done. So technology, talking about the technology application, the newer application of technology, I'm giving you an example. So as I said, Deepto introduced very nicely. Actually, I had a company, which I co-founded. So I don't work for that company anymore. But anyway, so that was a great experience. Is that so we use the new technology application to develop that particular company. So what we did actually, just telling you very simplified way. So you might be knowing, all of you might be knowing, but you might be teaching, or the professors are teaching about the stem cells, right? They are very contemporary, very what, and stem cell can be used for wide range of therapeutic application and in humans. So when we started the company, right? So I have the technology, so I know how to use that, how to isolate the stem cells from the blood, but we don't know whether there could be a different application of this, the isolation of stem cell from the blood to treat a different type of diseases also. So we went to a client. Okay, so the client is a very specialized client, and they do a lot of infertility related problems actually. Okay, but they never use stem cells for any of the patients. So basically I had to pitch that technology to him, and he kind of liked it. And he said that, well, that technology can be used. This technology can be used for treatment of for some of the infertility disorders or something. And I said that, yeah, theoretically it can be possible, because when I was working in a company in Bangalore, actually we use the technology to treat different types of diseases also. So we pitched, and he liked it, and he said that, well, you can work with us and try to find it and use your new technology, whatever you propose, to some of the patients, right? So it's a very challenging, because it's not like a lab-based experiment, right? So you have to, whatever the service you are going to provide, like an isolation of stem cell from the blood, and you'll be treating infertility diseases also, and that's kind of very crazy and challenging. You never know what is going to happen, if there is any side effects or something like that. And it's a but we took the challenge, and eventually it worked out, like a charm. It worked out really well. And it's the reason I'm saying it's worked out really well, because we were able to treat about 500 patients, especially the women patient, who have a problem in conceiving, not only conceiving, also who have a problem of delivering the full term baby. So after doing this kind of, it's a more of a study, it's a clinical study. So we treated almost we had our successes is about 60%. It's not 60, it's actually 59.3%, but it's about 60%. Okay, So that's enormous. So and not only that, that is part of the business component. So basically, well, not there is a humanitarian also component also, because you are using, you develop a new application for a technology, but you are able to treat some of the patients, right? And they are happy, and they went home, and they have the baby come with the baby, and that's kind of satisfaction also. But eventually, you get paid for your service and everything. But another important component of this entrepreneurship, we always talk about that, the publication. This only the professors can do all the publication, because they are in academia, and their job demands that you have to publish papers in peer reviewed journal or something. But this is not the trend in a corporate world. The corporate world doesn't necessarily care to publish peer reviewed papers in fancy journal. But fortunately, that the director of that, I mean the client, is they're very enthusiastic about publishing papers. So we actually, not only we serve the patients, but we are able to publish I think 3 papers, 3 fantastic papers, where we describe our new application, technology application, in the treatment of the infertility related disorders. And that's actually is going to help the company, any startup. Because see, I'm going to tell you, when you have that kind of, well, service is fine, you are serving, you are treating patients, you are doing, that is also a part of your asset, right? So you can show to the investor that, I have done this, I have done that, and I have treated that kind of patients and everything. But sometimes, you need to believe that, because see, the technology you're using is a science-based, it's evidence-based, right? So you need to have that kind of documentation, right? It's an intellectual proof of documentation that you are not doing something, just like, it's who knows, it may not be ethical, or it could be something else, right? So idea is to that, for a startup, not only you develop a product or technology or something, try to get your invention or whatever the service get published in a peer reviewed journal. The peer reviewed journal, the good thing about peer reviewed journal, because because your entire work is being reviewed by all these unbiased reviewers. You don't know about these reviewers, right? So there should not be any bias about your work or anything, right? So that's the beauty of, so we are, unfortunately, we are able to publish that. And for the company I previously worked with, the Stemanics Private Limited. So regarding the service, I kind of described to you also the service means. So you have a technology, you have developed a new application of the technology, but you serve the patients. So basically, the service means it's more of a it's a more of a need-based thing. Like, if you develop a product, okay. Suppose you have a stem cell product, okay? So you develop a product, it is not a service, but that product can be used to treat millions and millions of patients, okay? So in the form of a pharmaceutical, drug or something, and that's a product. So you develop the product, you upscale the product, you make it large quantities, and you just sell it. You are done. So you don't have to constantly in touch with the clients that give me some work, so that we were doing the service and everything. So service is kind of challenging also, because it's a need based. Sometimes you have service, sometimes you don't have any service. But the product has some advantage. But once you have developed it, you have very sustainable revenues coming on to the company. But anyway, but also a service is a very important component of the innovation also. And then there is a manufacturing techniques. So what does it mean, the manufacturing techniques? So thing is that, suppose you have developed a product, right? But that's not the final. So you can improve the product. That's an innovation also. Improve the quality or maybe the efficacy of the product. That's part of the innovation also. Or you can use that, because you can tweak the production, right, in such a way that it could be a very cost-effective production, right? So you can this before it goes any product, it first comes through R&D, right, research and development. So it's a very small scale product, and you validate it. And once you are satisfied with the products, definitely you have to go for a production line, okay? So production is more of an routine things. So basically you are upscaling your technology or something to build something. But if you find that that you are not getting that kind of quantities, right? Which you with actually the this patient's need. Then you have to do something with the manufacturing protocol or production or something. So that's also considered a part of the considered a innovation also. And that's not the only one. There is another important aspect of this innovation is the marketing strategies. Okay, so uh, uh, see, just again giving you by a the case study. So marketing strategy means, so suppose you have a service, right? And you want to reach to certain clinicians, who will be willing to have the kind of service. So that's fine, okay. But there could be some other ways, you can influence the clinicians or something, right? By many other way. So for example, what I had to do even in Bangalore also, I had to go to the clinician, pretty much twice a week, and with all the documents, I mean, scientific documents and publications and everything. And I had to convince the clinician that, these are the service you should use. Because see, without their help, because they see the patients, and as a scientist we don't see the patients, we are always in the back end, right? So we have to this, but the scientist can do that. That's a strategy. So scientists can use their skills, or I mean the knowledge and everything, to the clinician, to make them understand and realize that this service could be very effective for their treatment also. So it's kind of synergy or something, because even the patients get benefited, the clinicians who is working for the company or something for the clinic, they get benefited. And even and we we're just making that kind of product or service, and we are using a novel marketing strategy, right? So usually this is for the first time, because you need to have a very high quality pitch to the doctors, okay. So once this is done, so you are done, and then you can use your marketing team, like a who does not need to, who may not have to need some kind of fancy presentation or something. They can go to the doctors and clinician and get in touch, say hello sir, how are you doing, and everything actually. So this is kind of another very easy marketing strategy. So that's an innovation also. So see, marketing strategy innovation, it's a very personalized. I do the marketing the way, that is totally different from maybe one my co-founder. He does it, because the thing that our skills, our domain is different, right? If you go to a finance person, because see, I will explain all the details of the intricacies of the startup, because see, you may be a good scientist, you have all the technical knowledge and everything, but you may be very bad at the marketing, because marketing needs is another one. So I'll be doing marketing in a different way, but another person who is really a marketer or something, he will market in a different way. So those kind of strategies, like should be, and if you can develop something innovative strategy, and it's a very personalized, so you don't know, it's a client base. Some client may like a style of marketing style, but another client may like a different style. So there is no textbook for marketing strategy, but you can always develop it. So all you need to use your people skills and understand the client and how he want to pitch it. So there is a lot of innovations in this guy. We don't appreciate those kind of innovation. We always talk about innovation, about product technology, and that gets all the limelights. But this marketing strategies, there is very innovation. There is scope of innovation for the marketing also. And the second aspect of the entrepreneurship also is the organization. So what we say is to simplistically say the person is very organized, right? So organization means also actually he knows what he's doing, and how you want to do it, and how effectively you can do it. So that is all part of the organization. So for an entrepreneur, because you don't have a big team, like a small team, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4, maybe actually. So you need to make sure that you can use the resource very well, like whatever the resource you have, like a people or your staff or personnel or everything actually. And then you need to know all this kind of organization. No school is going to teach you. So this is the way you learn as you go. So this is well, it might be thinking the entrepreneurship is very tough. Yeah, it's indeed tough, because you need that there is so many skills is required apart from your scientific understanding of the product and technology and other things. So the organization is an key component of your. And if you think that you are a very organized person, and you can work, you can get things done in a very small setting with whatever the people you have actually, and never complain. If you are working in a startup, or if you're an entrepreneur or something, well, wish I had this kind of thing, wish I could do better if I had these things. This is a big no. So never complain. So your job is to, whatever the small capacity you have, whatever the personnel you have, you may not be, probably in the early stage, you may not be high, you may not have the ability to hire a very highly skilled and experienced person, because you cannot pay them that much, right? So you have to work with somebody with a very with a very entry level person or something like that. And you have to teach, and you have to transfer, you have to manage and everything. So I'm telling you, it's really the beginning of the startup journey is very, very difficult. And I think that's part of the reason, though it's kind of negative tone, but I have to tell you the truth. So if you look at this, if you go through the survey around the world, so it says that within the first 2 to 3 years, 90% of the startup, they just gone, right? Only 10% survive within 2 to 3 years. So I think that part of the reason is it's nothing to do with your with your product, technology, or your ability. That is the way it is. I think because of this, there is so much component of a startup management. I think and of course the market is very fluid. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. That's what it happened to my previous company also, STEM Bionics, because we used to get a lot of patients pre-pandemic year, but when the pandemic starts, the patients, they're afraid to come to the clinic and get that kind of treatment. So we had to stop that, right? Because I just left, because there is not much work done over there you can do. So anyway, that is not on your control, but there are certain things you can always control it, like whatever the assets you have, small things you can mobilize, you can motivate your staffs, you can keep the peoples. And also another thing with the startup, also those who are working, they're always looking for a job or something. It's not that you are paying your money. They know that it's kind of there is not much of stability in the startup. So they're well, you cannot blame these people, because there is not much of stability. Even you pay enough, they have a tendency to go for a very stable company. So which means I'm telling you that since you cannot get everything done by yourself, so you have that kind of mental stretch. Well, I'm training this person, I have, he's very well trained, but who knows, he'll be staying after 6 months or 7, unless you have a contract. And I don't like, personally, we don't like the contract, because the contract is, I think it's unethical, because you cannot ask an employee to stay on the basis of the contract, right? So it's kind of force and compelling somebody. If the person like the company or something, he or she will stay. So why you have to go to the legal document and everything, spot up. But anyway, that's another story. And there is a risk. Now you understand by now actually what is the risk involved. So there is a tremendous kind of risk involved. So you don't know. So what is going to happen after 6 months, right? In terms of revenue. So revenue is fine. You don't know whether the startup is going to survive after 6 months or not. Forget about the revenue coming to the channel. So you have to have that kind of risk. And the risk is entirely yours. If you work for a boss or something, right? And if the boss asks you to do something, right? Boss takes the responsibility. If it works, it's fine. You are fine. If it doesn't work, you are still fine, because you have done the thing which boss asked you to do, and you are safe. You are okay to stay in the company. But think about this, the risk factor in founder and co-founder mind, right? So they have to take the risks, and you cannot complain anybody. And of course, there is I will come to that process about the investor also, because this is getting a little bit complicated in one slide. But keep in mind, there is a substantial amount of risks. And if you know that if you know yourself that you can risk taker, and you can survive the stress, for a longer period of time with the uncertainty and everything, I think you should definitely pursue the entrepreneurship. There are a lot of good things about entrepreneurships also, but for the initial, you don't know, you don't realize also. Even I didn't realize also. But so that's why the skepticism always at the beginning of the startup. Okay, so and nobody has to blame, because only you have to blame yourself. So that's it. And another thing is the vision, right? So the vision is it's almost a key component, but the vision is always, see, when you start a company, like start a startup, right? What will be the vision? You definitely have a vision. It's a dream, right? So you want this startup to serve this amount of people or something like that, and you know exactly what I need to do in order to make that happen. So this is called the vision, right? And based on vision, you hire people, you understand the nature of the people and whether they fit into your vision or not, and you make all the decisions, right? So they're always in, when you execute your vision, you don't have the all kind of documentation, right? You don't know actually, what you need to do down the road. So you keep changing your style and everything, but the good thing about is the vision is that at least you know that, I'm starting here, I know exactly, where I need to go. So you know your start, you know your destination, right? And in between, whatever the strategy, what are the steps, what are the things and risks you need to stay, you just learn. So it's very difficult to tell at the moment. So but the good thing is that you should have a vision. You don't start a startup just for the stunt fancy idea of starting startup. I know this is an over the last 3-4 years, this startup is a big thing, especially in India also, and it's kind of trending. It's kind of, for somebody, it's like a status symbol. Well, I have a startup, I am very tech centric, and I have something like that, I have a startup. Everybody has got a startup or something. So it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. But if you think that just for the sake of starting a startup, and you are just to get a little bit prestige in the society, right? I have a startup, I'm running a startup and everything. So don't do that. So forget about these things, because you know that there's a lot of risks involved. And another thing is that it's not the risks associated with you, because anyway after 6 months or 3 months you'll be recruiting a lot of people also, like young, promising, ambitious people also. But if you don't have any vision or strategy, right, you'll be killing all these employees, and they have to leave and they have to find another job or something. So the vision is very important. So whatever the steps, whatever the strategy, whatever the things you are going to take should be aligned to your vision. And it not necessarily you have to disclose your vision to your team. Sometimes a lot of leaders, they do that. They share their vision with the employee just to make sure that what he expect them to do. But even the founder doesn't know that I have a vision, but should we be telling all this vision to these people to motivate also? Probably not. Probably yes, but it's a hard call. But I'm going to move to the next slide. It's another very important slide. It's called the economic models of entrepreneurships. So this is more of a basics, but I'll go one by one. So what are the models of entrepreneurship? So one is the individualized, okay? But there could be several types of individualized entrepreneurship. One is bootstrapped, or bootstrapped means self-finance. So means you have certain amount of money, either from savings or everything. So you want to use that money to develop something, okay? So this is bootstrap. So you are not dependent financially or anything for anybody, okay? So and the good thing is that once it is bootstrapped, like the way the model, the biotech consulting services is doing, it's totally bootstrap. You don't have to dilute your equity. So basically you have this 100% equity belongs to you, whatever the money you have actually. But there are some problem with the bootstrapping also. I will explain that also. But to start with, I think most entrepreneurs start with the bootstrap strategy, the self-finance strategy, because nobody knows what is going to happen in 6 months or over a year or so. And there is another way. Suppose you have a killer idea, right? You have a strong idea, but you don't have any savings. That's okay. That's fine. Not many people have the savings also. So if you don't have any savings or to invest as a seed for your startup, the financial institutions are always out there, like a bank or something. So you can go to a bank, they might charge a interest or something. So, but you can use that the bank money to fund your startup. So that's a lot of founders that do those kind of thing. And the third is a very important component of this the models is a government grants and loan based. So I need to explain that in the context of in entrepreneurship in India. See, we have this government organization called Department of Biotechnology, right? DBT. It's under the Ministry of Science and Technology. So they have this kind of grant scheme. So all you need to do is you have an idea, but you you don't have any savings, right? You are afraid to go to the financial institution because they are charging too much of interest, and you don't know whether you uh, will be able to pay off the loan or not, right? So your best bet maybe go to the government websites, and there is a BIRAC. It's a one of the component of the DBT, and they provide the grants, the grant money. But regarding the grant money, because I have been involved with some of this, the grant scheme, the DBT BIRAC government grant scheme for other startups I worked with. So the issue the grants is that it's very competitive, because it could be amount, because it's a government grant, so it could be amount of is a larger amount of money. So it could be up to 1 crore also, I mean the crore, or it could be depending upon your budget or everything. And if it is a grant, so grant means it's very prestigious because it's an award, right? So also you don't have to worry about, suppose you get a 1 crore grant from the BIRAC, right? So you don't have to worry about pay it back to the government. So because it's an award, and also you can add it to your I mean the portfolio, to your startup, that you have got a prestigious award from DBT BIRAC or something. So that helps to get your the startup going. So that's another possibility. But the caveat about the government grants is that because as I said, I have been involved with some of the things, because the government, see, it is the public money. Think about this way: it is the public money. Government means it's a publicly, whatever the taxpayers' money, right? So you cannot blame them because it's very competitive. They want to make sure that public money goes to the best people and to the best institute and to the best company. So how do we assess the best company, or what are whether they want? Well, your proposal may be fantastic. Okay, so you have a very good proposal or everything, but will be able to execute that kind of proposal whether you have that kind of infrastructure, right? So because see, for some companies, like which work based on internet or something, like the Biotech consulting service does actually, but it's not the case with many other lab based company which I actually worked. So basically you need a lab to execute your idea, and the government people and the government officials wants to make sure that I shouldn't say the state of the art because it's a startup, but at least you should have that kind of basic things in your lab. And so that makes that the grant funding is very difficult. But the good thing is that there is the BIRAC has another scheme called the loan based grant. This is less competitive. So what you have to do, you still have to write a proposal, and you have to ask for a loan. Instead of getting a grant, you are asking for a loan, and the government is, if your proposal looks good, in most cases, you'll be able to get some loan grant, which is of course has interest, but which has a low interest compared to other financial institutions, like public institutions. So that's like another way. So we have this in India. We have this kind of facility. You need to those who intend to become an entrepreneur might be want to visit those kind of websites. It's the DBT BIRAC websites. And now I'm going to talk about academic entrepreneurships. And those who are still a student, who are working in an academic environment, you might be very interested about what this academic entrepreneurship means actually. So it's had two components. One is institutionalized, and another is through third party. Okay, so it's complex. I'm going to explain to you in a very simple way. Suppose Well, of course, you are a like a see the good thing about this, the institute, like IISER or something, they have a very, not only they have a teaching, but also they have a very good research infrastructure, and that's the reason that the IISER has originated, because in our country, apart from the IITs, they are mostly of the technology based. The IISER has that kind of the facility which the undergraduate students can, so undergraduate can learn this kind of research, and try to publish papers even in the undergraduate stage, which is hard to do any other university level, like any public university or private university. So 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 you may be familiar that, suppose you have a professor in your institution, right? So he teaches you and everything. At the time now, he or he does a lot of research also, and suddenly he or she got something like a finding, I mean an exciting funding, scientific finding, and which can be scale up, and it can be developed into a product or service model, right? So there is two ways to do it. One is that the institute, like it could be IISER or it could be IISc. I know the IISc has kind of things. You can start developing a company or industry or something, whatever you name it. But basically, you are moving your research from the bench to another setting where you actually can work as if you are working in a company. So that's mostly institutionalized. So basically, you are making companies, or it's a satellite or something, not only in the campus, it could be off campus also. Because the reason I'm telling you, in the West, especially if you go to the, I don't know how this government model this works, but in a private institute, private university like in Harvard, most of the professors, they are, Harvard is a private university or something. So they have not only the teachers at the Harvard, but most of them, they have this, they are the CEO or something with a lot of startups, okay, and they are around the Boston. So they can manage both. So they can manage both the job, the professorship as well as the entrepreneurship also. But probably, that can be done in a setting like IISER also, IISER also, because we have a good teaching as well as installation thing. So idea is to that you develop something in your institute, and you do, and you want to give it a little bit of corporate look, or make a company inside the institute or outside the institutes, and make a team, and maybe the students will get the job also inside in the particular startup. So that's the whole thing about this thing. And another is the third party. So third party is also very popular. So what is the third party is, I will explain in a minute what is the third party entrepreneurship, academic entrepreneurship. Third party means, suppose you develop a fantastic, you have a breakthrough, right? So, but and you develop something, but in a very small scale. But you don't have the, I mean, the institute or university doesn't have that kind of ability to do in large scales, right? So that brings the private partner collaborations. It's very, very important. So in this case, you have to collaborate with a company, with a private company that has the expertise to scale it up. So how do you want to do it? So that I will explain to you in a minute. In that case, you just transfer your technology or whatever the product to the another company. There are some agreements also. I will explain it and get it done. So that way you don't have to worry about running a startup at the same time, being involved with too much of teaching duty and also and other things. So that can be done also. And then there is another one, is a very, well, it's a investor based model of entrepreneurships. So there are different ways of you can take help of funding, like in startup funding. You can go to the angel investor. Angel means they're still an investor, but they are not like aggressive like venture capital. So you go to the angel investor, they may give you a small amount of money, right? But they may not ask for equity also. Equity means the share, right? And they can leave the company, and they will leave the company, and they will do something else, or they will invest in money on something else. So angel investor is another way of doing it. And then there is a big thing, is the venture capitalist. So as the venture capitalists are very big, so they have a tremendous amount of capital, and but the thing is that it's very difficult to get a capital from venture capitalists. The reason is that you have to bring your startup at such a stage so that it looks very attractive to the venture capitalist. Anyways, they are investing, so they will have the equity also, but they want to make sure that eventually they will make some profit out of the startup. So the most of the startup, they don't go to the venture capitalists in the very early stage, but once they're very sure that our startup is in full swing and we need more money, and we can pitch to the venture capitalist, and if they agree to fund, or with a usually they take about 10 to 20% of this equity, but that's okay. So you get a lot of amount of money, and then you can fund your FIDA, right? But the bad thing about venture capitalists is that since they have an equity, right? So equity means they are the stakeholder, right? So they can control. So you are sometimes you are answerable as a founder to the venture capitalist, right? So they might invest something else, like, I mean, no, this is they, because they have a share, and they may occupy the part of the board of directors also, because they can control the company decision. Say you get a lump sum money from the venture capitalist, right? And you promise them that your company will be a very your will cross the break even, and even will make a tons of money after a couple of years also. But if it doesn't happen, then you have to answerable to the venture capitalist also. Why this is going on also. Even this is the same case with the financial institution also, because see, because the good thing about then, before I start a actual real startup, I work for some startups, and that actually helps. So keep in mind that if you really want to be an entrepreneur, if, instead of directly go for an entrepreneurship, actually start working for a startup. That way you learn a lot. So talking about the loan, the financial institution based funding. So one of the startup I work in Calcutta actually, so they had that kind of financial arrangement, right? So bank. Okay, so every year, these bank people, they used to come to the company like a startup, and since I'm the senior person actually, and they have to come, and I have to show them that what is the product, and what is the turnaround, how our selling going on actually. So they want to make sure that they will get their money back. Of course you can disclose the company, but that's not the way. That is not your actual ambition. Their ambition is to just help the company to get more money and something. So the bottom line is that unless you are a bootstrapped or self-financed, uh, uh, and academic entrepreneurship, that's a totally different thing, because you are not individualized. This is part of the university. I'll explain in a minute, because I've been to the academic for a long time also, and I know this business very well. But this is, I learned all these things: the bootstrapping, the financial syllabus, the government loans, and loans based, and even the and angel and venture. Yeah, I have not the idea, but I heard about it's very difficult, so I haven't had a chance to go to the venture capitalist also. And there is fascinating thing about incubator and accelerators also. I don't know about the IISER has incubator and accelerators, but the company I worked with previously, that startup were situated in the incubator. So what is the incubator? It's usually there are some private incubators also, and especially in Bangalore. Some of the incubators are private, owned by the private, so they run a business. But there are some incubators run by the government also. It's part of the policy, biotech policy. They want to promote the biotech culture in their state or in the country. In Calcutta also, you have that kind of incubators, like run by the West Bengal Science and Technology. Also, the startup I worked with, that was in the one of the incubator. So if you are lucky to get an incubator, the good thing about incubator is that you are not asking for any financial support or anything. All you are using is just their infrastructure, and all you have to do, just pay the utilities. I mean, in terms of electricity, or whatever others also. And believe me or not, sometimes sometimes they waive the electricity and other utilities also for the first couple of years also. So these are the good options to start your startup, like incubators and accelerators, the more of an advanced one. So this is very good actually, incubators and accelerators. So private, I'm not sure about the private, maybe they will charge a huge amount. But for the government incubators, they are around some of the in many parts, like C Camp is an incubator also in Bangalore, and it's run by the NCBS. I know in Calcutta also, the government department of Science and Technology has incubators. So, and all the charge is the utilities and others also. But still you are answerable to this, because still they have the control. Because if you damage something, and all this for equipments, because all these equipments, they are based on sharing basis. You are not the sole proprietor, because they provide I forget to mention this, sometimes they provide the equipments also, like instruments and everything, right? So yeah, you have to make sure that you are not damaging any instruments or everything. So still you are under a lot of control. This is less freedom, but that's the way you have to get things done. Whatever the options, as I said, that the entrepreneurs, they never complain. So they change their strategy and whatever, and try to get things done. So whatever available, if you have enough amount of savings and everything, go for a bootstrap. If you don't have, approach the financial institution. If you don't want to go for a financial institution for for high rate interest, go to the government grants or loans, and or down the road, you go to the angel and the venture capitalist, and maybe incubators and accelerators way. But there are many ways. And the reason I lay out is there are so many ways you can get things done. So you have to be very optimistic about the entrepreneurships in this country. So talking about, as I said, that I will explain in a minute, the academic entrepreneurship is primarily done through technology transfer process. It may sound a little bit difficult, but it's not that, it's easy to, as I'm going to try to explain in a very easy way. So what is the technology transfer process? Okay. So in many institutions, especially the federally funded or government institution, they have this technology transfer office. Okay. So what they do, if a professor has an invention, right? So he or she has to disclose the invention in writing. Okay. But remember, this technology transfer process office, these people, who are working for that particular unit or something, they may not understand that kind of scientific jargon or something like that, actually. So you have to explain in a very simplistic way, like what my invention is and what it is important, and what is important. It can change the world. It can it can save millions and millions of people or something. So this is also a pitch also, but this is an internal one. So basically, all you have to do, a professor has to convince the technology transfer office that that's part of the disclosure form. So if you go to the disclosure point, it is the invention disclosure. And what they will do, the office, then they will start evaluating the merits of your transfer of your thing. So merits means it's not it may have scientific excellence, right, in terms of publishing a paper, or maybe in a very high impact paper or something, but it may not have nothing to do with the real world, and that's very important also. So these are these people. They're smart people. They understand all these things because they know how to use the technology and to get things done to, and so that's their job also. So they evaluate all this technology transfer office, and finally they if they find that this because I have gone through it, believe me, in non, and I have a patent, US patent actually, and so we have developed some technology or something in the US in a university, and then we have to go through all these technologies. So that way I know all these things. So and then the technology transfer office will recommend for a patent application, right? So once you submit a patent, so you have full control about your invention, right? So they file a patent. The professor doesn't have to worry about the filing a patent. So they are very good on filing patent also. So they file the patent, and then once they file the patent, your property, intellectual, the product or whatever your is protected, they reach out to the company. Various companies also who are willing to scale up your technology, right? So it's basically it's a part of the marketing. The technology transfer office will do all kinds of external things, and finally they will try to find a private the industry partner who will be able to scale it up for the people, and then licensing of the patents. So licensing of the patents means that once you transfer the technology to a company, right? Especially it's not a startup. Usually they are big companies, like who has a very well set up business going on and everything. They are willing to invest a lot of money in the upgradation and scaling of the product. Actually, you get a license fee. It's a one time technology transfer fee. So they will give you So it's a good model. I think that is the way that India is in most of the institute. They are kind of encouraging the academicians to go for to bring some money to their institutions, because once you get a license, once you are able to get a license, the patents, right? So university gets a lump sum money from the company, the patent company, okay? And not only you get the share of stake also, I mean the inventor, I mean the professor or whatever the co-inventors also, but the university, is getting benefited because they're, you know, because you get a lot of money from the private private company through the technology transfer office. So instead of, so basically you can tell the companies in the government that actually, so since you are earning revenues, you are generating revenues for the school. So that's impressive, because not only you are teaching, you are being involved in in a scholarly activities, or you are training, PhDs and everything, and that's okay, that's all part of the academic duties. But what about the monetary aspect? Okay, because in our system, like in India, unless in other Western countries and everything, because see, everything is whatever the funding you get, it's mostly, so it's maybe a little uncontroversial. I'm not going to annoy any professor and everything. So it's basically you get a core funding from the government. Always money comes from the government. So not necessarily you have to write a grant and get it funded to the government or something. It's a very smooth process also. But if this is kind of smooth, so you have to give, I mean, you have to give it back to the government, right? So I think that's part of the way. Maybe the CSIR, I don't know about the DBT, they're trying to promote insisting, the professors to have the patents and get it commercialized, so that the university or the school or institute or whatever capacity you have, get some money from the big pharmaceutical or biotech companies. So I hope this is very clear. This is a fascinating journey, the academic entrepreneurships, and I have gone through it, and it is very good. And actually, but the only caveat is that you have to be with the academia, right? So you cannot do this kind of thing outside the academia. So so that's one of the things. So not everybody can do this kind of this kind of procedure or applications. So talking about patent publication versus peer reviewed publications, okay, what comes first? So as I said that, once the professor gets an invention, gets some interesting finding on everything, and which is patentable. So, well, the idea is that, that it's good to publish a patent first before you publish your findings to the peer-reviewed publication, because the peer-reviewed publications means, first of all, when you are in the patent stage, so we have some preliminary data, right? So you don't have that kind of lots of data which the peer-reviewed, they are very stringent about accepting a paper or something, especially top tier journals, right? So you don't have that kind of data with you also. So anyway, so best bet is to just go ahead and do a provisional patent, with an invention or something, and then it takes some time in India, even in India also, but maybe it could be quick, 6 or 4 months. So once you file a provisional patent, you develop a lot of other data, and then by the time you will submit the paper to the publication, maybe you'll have a patent, right? So that way you don't have to worry about, because the good thing about peer reviewed publication is that it gets a lot of popularity, right? It gets visibility because it's a peer reviewed, right? And so reviewed by some unbiased people. So okay, so though patent is a publication, but it's not peer reviewed, right? So but the scientific publication, the peer reviewed, has an own weightage. So that's why the most of the people, I think the people, even I recommend also, just go ahead and file your patent and get the patent done, and then before you publish a paper, because the thing is that once you publish a paper, right, you all must have seen a lot of papers in the journal and everything. So you have to disclose all the details, like materials and methods, how you have done it, how you have done the experiment, and how you develop the product, how you come up with the technology. So all the intricate details the reviewers need to get it accepted, they have to see all these kind of things. So basically you are displaying everything to the other people, and once it gets out, this some other investigators or something, they are having similar interest, which the type of work you do, it's very easy to copy. And I mean, not the copy, it's not a plagiarism, but they can always try to find something else and get it done. So the best thing is that to protect your intellectual right, so first publish a patent, and then followed by peer reviewed publications. So we do that for one of the publication also. We file a patent and followed we publish that kind of paper. So now the important question is that, and I have been asked by many people, though they are very early stage, they're mostly students. So what kind of educational attainment you need to start a startup, right? So I think most of us say, well, startup is a big thing, right? So you have to have lots of things going on other than money, right? So personally, I feel that it you should have a college degree with a major focus on minors. The reason I'm telling you about minors means is in this case we talk about the past subject or subsidiaries. So say just giving you an example, I did my major in chemistry, right? So I have only options as a minors. I mean, the past subject is the physics and mathematics, right? So I didn't or statistics. So I don't have any other options. So I have to take chemistry and physics and mathematics. Whether I like it or not, I have to take it. But if you think that you want to be an entrepreneur down the road, right? So you suppose you have your major in biotechnology, right? So what are the other minors you're going to choose? Because you know that this biotech will give you a little advantage of starting a startup, biotech startup. But there could be some other aspects we don't know. School doesn't, because we don't have knowledge, just such as I'm talking about that, like economics, right? Maybe communication also, and now you know that those skills are very important to become an entrepreneur also. So unfortunately, our curriculum doesn't give that kind of flexibility to choose the major, even the minors also. Okay, but things are changing, and I think I came to know that about the national education policy. That they're going to let you choose your option major. Not from the very beginning, maybe in the second year or third year of your college, and so that first year you might choose the chemistry, second year it might just forget about it, go for physics or maybe something else, and maybe the minors, I mean the past subject, you can just choose it according. So if you have a biotech major, you can have a minor in economics also. I'm not sure, but I think these things are changing in the national education policy, so it's a good thing. So that's why I said that a college degree is important. You must have heard a lot of stories about school dropouts. They have they earned millions of monies and millions. And, they are a few cases, right? So like Steve Jobs, I mean like Bill Gates, Harvard dropout, but he has made some. But don't take it that as an incident. I think if you want to be an entrepreneur in India, I think you should have at least have talking about biotech entrepreneurship. You should at least have a bachelor's in biotechnology, and probably you should have minors like economics or communication or something, and if you want to be a biotech entrepreneur. So that really helps. So a college degree really helps. Good to have advanced postgraduate degree. Say the reason I'm telling the advanced postgraduate degree. See, I know this reason. Because when I studied in my college, for chemistry and for the honors subject or major, the minors, they gave me actually the physics and mathematics. They tend to support the major, so that was the role. That's nothing wrong. So if you have a chemistry, probably your understanding with some degrees of physics and your mathematics will help you your major, right? But when you are in a college, like in a bachelor or something, right? So you not only you study your major, but you also study your minors also, and that sucks up a lot of time, right? So but this advanced postgraduate degree, like masters, or it could be MTech or something, that gives you a lot of opportunity to develop your super specialty skills, like because probably in a bachelor's you might be in a college you might be studying major as well as some minors, but in an advanced case and postgraduate, you are only focused to learn biotechnology and the advanced courses of biotechnology. So that's good to have and optional. Okay, so whether it's a PhD or an MBA. Okay, so I'll get back. I'll show you in a minute actually. So educational attendant to start a startup. Does an MBA help? The short answer is yes. Okay, so I have been asked many times, so well, you have a startup, do you have a management degree or not, right? So the answer is yes, definitely it's helpful. But the thing is that the 2-year program is expensive in abroad, not only in abroad, in this country also. It could be in abroad, it's cost about 100 to 150 USD per annum. So it's a 2-year program. You can see the amount of cost involved into this program. So what if you invest an MBA tuition fees to your startup and manage your startup, learn as you go? So I hope I am not going to annoy some of this, if there is some management professors or something like that, because maybe I'm just discouraging somebody to not to join management course and everything. As I say, that it's definitely it helps. But if their tuition is an issue, then I think the best bet is to just go and invest in your startup, and learn as you go. That's what I did. So I think this is the best learning. You learn as you go, because you are in the daily activity. It's not theoretical. You are just practical. Because in MBA class is mostly in the class based, like it's a theoretical class. But when you deal with the startup day-to-day activity, so it's more of a practical knowledge. So you learn a lot. And maybe you may not be learning. So like an MBA graduate, what is that? They usually earn, maybe, I don't know, maybe they may earning a more than like a biotech graduate. But the thing is that, once your startup keeps going, so you might be learning more than the MBA graduate also. So it needs some patience. So educational attainment to start a startup. How does a PhD help? Okay, so this is very good, because since I have a PhD, so I am going to a little bit of I have to do a little bit of fast, because of the time constraint. So how does it? This is an important question. How does a PhD help? Okay, so the good thing is that the PhD allows you to do the entrepreneurship in addition to principal academic duties in universities, right? Because, well, I think it's a mandatory. If you work in a university or something, university, you have to have a PhD, right? So that's a good thing, that it gives you more options. You can do your teaching, scholarly activity, as well as you can be an business magnate also. So that's the way the Harvard runs. The professors, they know all these things, all three component of this academics world. But another is that the PhD program, and usually is the 5 and 8, 7 years program. Okay, that gives you patience and endurance, because when you are in a PhD, because I've been through this, actually every day you have to deal with the failures. Okay, so your experiment doesn't work, and then next day it may work, sometimes it doesn't work. You have 2 years gone, you don't have any publication also, you don't know whether you will be able to get a PhD, or what's the status of your thesis or something. So it's a very very stressful process. Okay, so but the good thing is that those kind of experience that actually help you to start a startup, because that in startup also kind of patience and endurance, because you have failures, you have you have success and everything. So I think that one of the things. There could be many other things that PhD can tell you, but I'm just listed a couple of key things. And augment communication and presentation skills. Now we know that communication and presentation skill is so important, because you don't have to, because not necessarily you have to convince your science to the investors, but it also you have to tell in such an attractive and a simplistic way, so that they understand, because the investor may not be from your domain, the biotech domain, right? So that you just use some biotech words and a biotech jargon, and they will be able to understand it. There could be something else, there could be some tech domain or something, right? So basically you have to align your communication in such a way that everybody can understand. Also, the PhD gives you that opportunity, because in a PhD there are regular the conference going on, the lab seminars and everything actually, so that actually helps to augment your presentation skill. Actually, the more you do, the more you get better. So, and then this is a very key thing, allows you to stay close to the trending inventions, right? So 5 and 7 years program, right? So you're always close to the lab, so you are seeing the discoveries are making, and though it may not be your discovery, it could be a discovery coming out from the next door lab, right? So that how this discovery can lead to some changes in the people's life, right? So that's kind of things give you some impetus to do to entrepreneurship also. And then the management of resources and personnel, because when you are doing a PhD, because you have to manage a lot of other things, not only in the lab resource, in terms of reagents and other things, and personnel also, because when you are a PhD, you have to work with some junior research fellows and everything. You have to, professor may not have the time to oversee all these things. You have to, being a senior, you have to do all these things. So you learn all this kind of management, people management skills while you have in, and because it is a long program, 5 and 7 years program, so you learn a lot through this. So that's why I say that it's not an optional, but it definitely it helps. For me, I think it works out okay. So how to start a startup from bootstrapping to investor based? Okay, so I kind of explain it. You have to have a clear idea, right? And the second is that you build a team as a founders. You initially you don't have anybody. It is your idea. You are going to, you are the founder, right? And then, but you cannot, but you may have certain expertise, right? Because maybe you are a good scientist something, but you may not have a a good understanding with the finance or with the management type or other things that you may not understand, or understand also, or you don't want to understand also, because sometimes people like to have a super specialization instead of a generalized thing. So that's not a problem. So you bring the co-founders on board at CXO title. It could be the chief financial officer, it could be the chief scientific officer, it could be some chief marketing officer and titles. And these people are very experienced also, so they can work only for the equity. So they won't ask the founder to give you the money. So basically you have to give your equity to somebody else, and then and get your startup moving. So and then and that's why I say the founder and co-founder, they don't take salary to make startup profitable. See, if you make it, if you remember that startup is not going to make any money. So the first 2 years they're going to burn money, right? So in order to minimize your burning money, right? So I don't take, or you don't take, the co-founder, they're not going to take any salary, just to make it profitable, because you have to document it, go to the investor, everything actually. Because if you take a lot of money, right, and if your revenues are not coming, right, so it's a pain, it's difficult to convince the people. Rather, you should not take any salary, or everybody should take a salary, and make a case that your startup is profitable. So, and then find an investor to cover founder and co-founder salary for the meaningful contribution revenue from day one. So this is something, your decision, right? So like me, initially, I spend a lot of time, doing a marketing and, marketing business and all those, like trying to convince people this is a good service you should get. It takes a lot of time to do it, and without salary or something, it's sometimes it's very difficult to continue also. So in that case, you get you go to the founders and then investor, and then you get your divide your salary or whatever between your founders and co-founders. And once you are ready to once you're generating a certain amount of money, so you can just hire a person. So that's pretty much the easy step. So start from bootstrapping to investor base. So do you need a startup mentor? Yes, we do. So what the startup mentor do, they have a lot of experience in the startup industry, because the mentor can help you the development of the business and the founder. They don't control the founder, okay? So they are kind of advisor. They help the advisor that you should do certain these things and everything. And most of the cases, this is just kind of honorary position. They don't get they don't get paid. The mentors don't get paid also, because unless the only option is to just sometimes they go to the board of directors and everything and just finance it. So it's a more of an advising positions, but but many of the startups, they usually go for a mentor. I have my mentor also from my previous 2 startups also. They are all professors and they're very experienced and everything, and they are influencer also, because they can influence other people's, your clients and everything. So that usually helps them, and sometimes you don't have to pay for anything also, because they can use the influence, because initially you don't have that influence, right? So it's better to go to the influencer and find and things and get things going. So how to start a startup? So bootstrapping, I already explained to you. The crowdfunding is a good platform, because it's in the internet. So what they do actually,
Good evening.
hello, hello,
So
yeah,
sorry, sir. I think there was someone's mic got on. So you can continue, sir.
is that okay?
Yes, sir. You can continue, sir.
Okay, so crowdfunding. So I'm going very quick because it's just 10 minutes. So crowdfunding is a because so this very simplistically. Suppose some in your family somebody has got a very expensive treatment, medical treatment, right? So it costs a lot of amount. So what you can do, you could go to the crowdfunding site and just advertise or say that I need a certain amount of money, and it goes to various platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, and everything, and you get the funding. So that's another way to start your startup, also crowdfunding. And then I already explained to you the angel micro, and there is a micro loan also. So that's sometimes very useful also. It's for they usually provide a small amount of money. And then there is a small business administration called SBAs. What it does actually, they're kind of mediator. They know that how to reach to the lenders who can give you the money. So they kind of mediate between the founders and the lenders and make your journey very smooth. And of course, the friends and families. I have seen many people, they have the friends and family, they contribute to the seed capital of your startup. So fundraising for a startup. So advantages is that this product development, and you can show this kind of expansion, manufacturing, sales, marketing offices, because you need the fund for the not only the product development, for the manufacturing stage, expansion stage, sales and marketing, office space, inventory. It needs a lot of these all the domains, and you need it. So that's why you have to raise your fund, and but the disadvantage is that, and I already told you that how to do the fundraising. You go to the van-based bank and everything, but the disadvantage is that though it helps the startup to move very smoothly and get and break even and get the break even, and even you can start and generate a lot of revenues, but it gives you a lot of debt and equity dilution also. But if you want to know the more about startup funding, so you can go to the startupindia.gov.in. So there is a tons of information out there also. So when you have time actually, and if you're very interested, and it's a lot of good information about startupindia.gov.in. So startup career advice. So I have a lot of people ask me about that. I want to get a job in startup, because especially they're very entry level students, and so my advice to them actually, so get involved into the fundraising activity for a company as a volunteer, because they do that kind of thing. So you have to go and know how to do the fundraising, because you need it for your own startup also, and do market research for a company. That actually helps. Periodically visit corporate websites for concepts and activities. Work as an intern, as an paid and unpaid during your school vacation, because your 3 months vacation time, you don't know what to do. Just go and just voluntarily work for a company also, either paid. Probably the paid is a better option, but if you are, just go for an unpaid vacation, unpaid internship, and be enthusiastic about undergraduate research in your school. So because this is the opportunity, you have it in. I'm telling you all the time, by the time, because IISER IISER is a good model, because there are a lot of undergraduate research going on, and you don't get kind of things in any other top universities also. So just use that resource, whatever you have in your university. In schools, you don't know what is going to do. Maybe you will be working for a startup, or you'll be startup. Just make use of this time, free time, and just do some undergraduate research. So investor pitch deck, what it does actually. So just to tell you that we have done a lot of pitch for the other clients also. It covers an elevator pitch. Elevator pitch is a very short 2-line description of your company, your goal, your vision, and everything actually that actually sets the tone for other funding and major funding. And then your product and service service descriptions, and you put your market analysis, your business model, monetization strategy, and introducing your team and mentors. And this is very important. I'm telling you, if you go to the investor, okay, they want to see what's your team is actually. So basically, you have to put all your CV, the team CVs. Suppose if it is a biotech company, you have to put your, the people who will be working for your CV, and the mentors also. As I said, the mentors are mostly influencers. Okay, so they really want to know that you are tied up with the mentors, and who has who is very respectable, or you have a status in the society. So now the message for the budding entrepreneurs: always remember, I think, one thing. Okay, no matter how strenuous the startup journey is, as long as you know, as long as you know what you are doing, and hold your purpose, and that is very important around it, you will land into a beautiful place. So, and as I said, that I'm going to end with this business canvas model. What it is a strategic management template typically used for developing a business model. So it has many segments. Then I already kind of discussed is customer segments. What are the customers you are going to serve for your company? If you are developing in some medical products or something, your customers are definitely patients. If you are developing something like like a biotech consulting service do actually for a lot of scientific writing and everything, your clients will be mostly students. So you just pitch it, and that is you have to show. And then the value proposition, what startup is going to change, what value is going to do, whether it is unique or you are just copying somebody else. So you need how it is different from that whatever the existing, and channels, how you want to go to the reach to that to the investors, right? And customer relationships, key activities, key resources, partnerships, and your cost structure. The cost structure is very important, right? What you want to do. So you want to spend more on R&D, you want to spend more time on the more on the marketing or something. It varies also. Sometimes you might need more more for your marketing rather than for your for me, I think I need more for the marketing that rather from the actual structure, actual work I can do, the consulting work. So just to finish it up, give you an idea, because I'm not here to pitch all my company service and everything, just to give you an idea about what we do. So the Biotech consulting service, and it's a virtual, it runs on a virtual technology platform. So we don't have a physical office, and not we need to, but everything runs over the internet. So what we do, we help the peoples, I mean mostly the students and sometimes academics also, like somebody who is willing to go to the abroad for PhD or something, statement of purpose, cover letter for the job seekers, the resume, and the grant writing is especially for the high end activities, where actually we can help even the professor or somebody else also, because how to write the grant in such a way that it gets funded. That's it. Because we don't provide an intellectual contribution either, we don't that kind of one, but we can always look at the front, and we can do this kind of grantsmanship. That's all the grantsmanship. It's a style. Once you have a lot of grant writing ability, everything, you can tweak the thing, and just to make that this is kind of pitching also, so that the funder or the government agency should be would be interested to fund your grant. And we do the career consulting. I do all the time, LinkedIn and all the time also, and talk. We help the people to give a nice smooth talk also, and also we do the manuscript preparation and everything. We don't write anything because this is very intellectualized. We want professors and students to write manuscript because that's their job. What we can do actually, we can just review the paper and just put some comments before it goes to the actual journal, because that most of the top journals actually they have a two cutoff. First, they just look at the papers, and if they don't like it, they don't review it actually. So we reviewed it before it go to the. We have done a lot of cases because go to the actual top journal, so that you will be able to make the first cut, and so it goes to the second cut, and then actually it goes to the review. And then with the academic curricula, we haven't done that, but we have put it, but this is not our activity is not limited to only this. And technology transfer, technology helpment, because if somebody doesn't know how to do this kind of thing, we kind of do troubleshoot over the phone, or sometimes we have some freelancer who is good with some of the technology, so we can send these people to the client side and get these things done also. So these are some of the short activities, and then finally I'm going to tell you that this is the never-ending pandemic. So we need to take out then what is the benefits of pandemic, right? So believe me, there has been extensive rise of entrepreneurship over the period of pandemics. Primarily the reason is threefold. The reason is that the lot of people, they lost their jobs. Okay, so they have to start your business. So that's one thing. And the second is that because I watch some kind of woman-centric channel over the TV, and I keep hearing the whole things, because the husband lost jobs. It's a very societal issue. The husband lost the jobs, and the wife has to do something from home, work from. So they develop something. It's a very small business. Maybe intellectual content is less, but anyway, as long as it brings money, I think that's everything, and support the family, I think that's fine. So there is a rise of like an entrepreneurship over the period of pandemics. And also this there is a lot of things going on over this. It's not in India, but there is around the world. It's called the Great Resignation. Great Resignation means that it's not that people don't like the job what they are doing, but the thing is that they are just frustrated because of this uncertainty and everything. So they are leaving jobs, and they are getting involved into the start of the business, because the business and entrepreneurship gives you a lot of flexibility. You can do a better life, work balance. So that's pretty much it. And thank you for your kind attention and everything. And as I said, there's Tony, that chase the vision, not the money. The money will end up following you. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the enlightening talk. Now, the audience, if you have any questions, you can ask, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Sir, I have few questions from the audience.
Yeah. 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 Go ahead.
One of them says that, sir, I have read in various blogs that academicians are not good at pitching to the investor for the fundraising and all because they tend to become more technical and jargon dependent. Sir, is that true? And if it is, how can we improve our pitch?
Yeah, exactly. So well, this is an our issue. This is an Indian issue, but I don't know. There is a truth in it, but because mostly well, again, this is a very controversial comment. I'm not going to, I have due respect for Indian professors and everything, but the thing is that, because we are in Indian academia, the way academia runs in such a way that, the professor think their only job is to do all this intellectual activity, like, professor, teaching, publishing papers and everything. But sometimes, they don't have to bring money from outside sources. Okay, so if that is the case, if that is there in the job description, probably they have to do, because I have done it, everybody can do it. So it's the question is that, what you need to do, and you have to relate. So if there is a pressure for the university professor that you have to earn some money, so you have to go and get it from outside source. The government has limited, because we know that our annual spending is not huge. It's just like I think it's less than 2%, and so it's not huge. And if you ask government, no, I'm not a government person or something, but I'm telling you the fact, because you are asking too much for the government, that I need this and I did this, then the government may ask you what you are doing for the government. Okay, so of course you are doing, because you are teaching, you are doing scholarly research, but sometimes the money is always a factor, because if you bring money to the university, that definitely helps. So yes, exactly. So in that case, the professor has to align the talk and give it to, all kinds of pitching, go to the technical, the jargon. Well, I think the jargon has to simplify it and say one sentence can be done. You can paraphrase the sentence. Okay, so paraphrase this in such a way that you use the sentence to teach particular students in a class, but going to investor, you tell the same thing, but you just paraphrase the whole thing in such a way that the investor can understand. So that's a different skill. And of course there could be some deficiency. It's not that inherent to the professor. Probably they are not exposed to do this kind of things, and the government policy doesn't, or our education or something policy doesn't let that professor to do this. If they have to do it, probably they can do it. Even when I do it, then everybody can do it, right? The professor can do it. So it's not the question. Yeah. So that's pretty, that's the thing. So that can be fixed. Yeah. Hello?
Yes, sir. Sir, I have another question. It says that hello, sir. I am from research background. So, according to you, what is the best way we can transition from this academic background to more corporate ecosystem?
So your question is that how we can move smoothly from your
Yes, sir.
academic background to the corporate background, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So I kind of discussed it actually, because in our education structure, university model, right? See, we don't have that. We are very good with the basic concepts and theoretical understanding of the subject, but the only thing is lacking. We don't have the hands-on skill, right? If you go to a company, right? Well, they teach, but not necessarily they are not going to teach you, because they have to earn some revenues and everything actually. So they always expect somebody who has some hands-on skill. So that's why I'm telling you, this institution like IISER and everything, where you have the ability to learn the hands-on skill while you are in the undergraduate. Believe me not, I studied in Calcutta University in the biochemistry department actually. The only thing I learned in the masters, it's a little bit of research, nothing else. So you are fortunate to have that kind of exposure almost at the undergraduate years. Just make use of that actually, and try to do something some skills, and also I explained to that there are many ways you can do it. Also, you can do some research, go to the corporate website. There are Biocon and everything. There are a lot of big websites are there. Just go through it and just see what they're doing, and look at the language they are doing. They are writing on the content. I mean the content. Okay, so just follow that content, and that will give you a lot of idea about how the company runs actually. Because in academia, you might be there could be different vocabulary, right? So, but in corporate, the vocabulary is completely different. So for me, I think it's easy because I was in academia and I was in corporate, so I have to use just the hat judiciously. So wherever I have actually, but yeah, for you, if you are definitely interested, go through it. And as I already explained to you also, when you have a time like summer vacation or something, instead of doing it, because people in the West, they have done it all the time, because of course we don't have that kind of vacation there. They have almost 3 months vacation every year, but that makes sense. But whatever the vacation you have, whatever level, actually you can just go and work for a company and try to see how a startup runs. But if you my suggestion is that if you really want to do a entrepreneurship, whereby so is just work in a startup instead of going for a big company like Biocon or corporate model actually. So you won't learn a lot of things, because your learning will be very specialized and limited to a particular things. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So there is a last question. It says that, sir, we are seeing nowadays most of the startups are coming in the internet domain and all the
Yeah.
technology related. So do you think there is potential to build startup in the domain of research like bioscience, chemistry? And if yes, then in which
Yes.
particular field do you expect the startups
Yeah,
will come up?
yeah, exactly. That's a great question, actually. Especially, I think this is a trending thing, because of the pandemic and everything. Because I know that, because believe me not, while in the pandemic, and the students, they are unable to go to the labs and everything, and the professors that actually they ask them, just wrap up your thesis and everything, and just get the papers done while you are working, while you are staying at home, right? So, I got a couple of cases also from the students, because I need to do this and that. So yeah, definitely the online things, because it's very rampant now also. And there are a couple of research, there are a couple of, I mean, domain, right? So you don't need actually the wet bench lab, wet skills, right? So there are certain skill, this like suppose, and you are in the biophysics domain, right? Or in the bio or computational biology or something. So you are designing, all you need is your software. Some of the software, they are very expensive, is got installed in your computer, and just try to do, design some drugs over the computer and everything, and just publish a paper. I think a lot of people are doing it, like machine learning, artificial intelligence, everything, all the things. And so look at this, all these tech companies, actually they are least affected, because that's why the biotech companies are affected more, because not everything can be done over the internet. Because I do a lot of things on the internet, but I wish I could go to the lab and do some experiments and do something else. So that's the issue with the biotech entrepreneurship also. But that's not the case with the tech entrepreneurship, because look at this, all these software companies and all things they are running, because they're all the companies, they're doing all they have to do, like this, just use the computer and just get things done. Yeah. So I think it's rampant education sector, like a lot of you have seen that. So all these Baizus and everything, that edutech and all these companies, and they're booming. Even our, as I said, that we also run in a virtual technology platform. But that's the requirement, because the grant writing and a couple of other fancy subjects, you cannot go to the lab. You have to do it in the hand, even in the US also. Because whenever I have to write to get grant or something, I just take up, just leave the office and go to the home and just write the grants over there also. So I think there are certain things can be done better and working from home, as opposed to working in the office.
Yes, sir. So I think there is no more questions, sir. So we can end the meet. Sir, thank you once again for accepting our invitation. It was actually quite great to know from you, because like most of our entrepreneurs who come to our meet, they are from the not from the research and the academia background. So, and you are from the academia background. So it was actually quite insightful that how a PhD will help. And I think in the now everywhere there is MBA colleges, and people are like, oh, if you want to go to startup, you should first have a MBA degree, and then you can like think about having a startup. So I think that, sir, it was great actually, and our students will be quite helpful
Yeah, I'm
from
glad
this.
that it actually held, and that's the purpose of the talk, right? So because
Yes,
when
sir.
you put everything together from your real life experience, you are trying to benefit somebody else, right? So
Yes,
that's
sir.
the purpose of the talk,
It was.
and since it helps, and I'm happy, so that's fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. It was great talking to you, sir. Thank you, sir. From the whole team of in innovation incubation cell of IISER Berhampur, sir, we thank you for coming to our with and
Thank you
explaining
for
everything.
giving me the opportunity. I think this is what you're doing is is excellent actually, and you should promote that kind of entrepreneurships, over
Yes,
the
sir.
internet and by
Thank
inviting
you.
other speakers and everything. Okay, yeah,
Yes, sir.
thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. It was great talking to you, sir.